think this is gonna work. I think this background is going to work for at least now. I'm Hannah, and this is where we talk about sacred home, sacred roots, and sacred rhythm, which is a culmination of the work I've been doing as a holistic health coach for the last 14 years, teaching circles to women around subjects like making home, joy, surrender, dreams, magic making, and the very last one that I ended with was called Sacred Roots. And that's where this YouTube channel has grown from. When my partner Dave and I decided about 3 years ago, we didn't want to wait to have our homestead, to have these foundations of sacred home, sacred roots, and sacred rhythm, we decided to do it in suburbia. And that is where this YouTube channel grew from. I have a secondhand shop where I sell thrifted items. And this is my current studio, which I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. And I have wanted to create a background for these videos, and you have to get the lighting just right. So right now I've got the windows behind the camera, and then it's facing kind of towards my desk area here. I moved the plant off of my dresser because I thought that would be really nice in the background. And you can kind of see it's a sunny day, so you can kind of see the design that the curtains are giving to the rug down there. So it's really pretty. All right, well, today's topic is about kind of hoarding this. So I don't, I'm careful to use the word hoarding, but it seems to be the best description for what I've been doing in my food preservation life. If you go down to my freezer in the basement, you will see food from at least a year ago. And freezer food really isn't meant to last more than a year, 18 months. And I realized that I am really good at getting the food preserved, and I am not very good at using it. And there's a couple things that are in play here. One, I have ADHD. I forget what I have. I don't remember what's in a freezer or what's in a refrigerator at any given moment. I have to constantly be seeing it. So I do have to come up with some sort of plan so that I know what is in all of my freezers and fridges, and we have a lot of them. The meat tends to not be such a big issue because I start a meal with the protein. So if we've ordered a quarter of a cow, I know I have beef in there. If we've ordered a pig from the pasture-raised farm that we order from, I know that I have pork, and then I can think, oh, pork means sausage, pork chops, etc. So the meat tends to be a little easier for me. The vegetables, the fruits, any pre-made meals that I've made, even like soup bones or fats to render down to lard, it just kind of disappears. So I was at my sister's house the other day, and on her refrigerator, she's got the split like fridge on one side, freezer on the other side. She had little sticky notes that basically said what was in there. And they do more of like a weekly thing. So we're not talking like long term, though she's really good at having tons of like emergency food. This is what's in the fridge that we need to use. This is what's in the freezer that we need to use. And I think she had meal ideas on there too. So I was like, this is an ADHD person's dream plan. So I am going to employ some sticky notes, and I'm going to start simply. I'm not going to go down to the big preservation freezer. I'm just going to start in my fridge and my freezer that are in the kitchen, and I'm going to make some notes for myself of what is there. I think this is going to be really helpful for the kids too. So totally different subject, but I just harvested like 1,000 pounds of carrots. I'm exaggerating. It was a lot of pounds of carrots on a snowy day, and it was a lot of carrots. It's a lot of carrots, you guys. And a lot of them have to either be cut up and eaten fresh right now, or they need to be cut up and frozen or canned. We don't really love canned carrots, so I'll end up freezing. Tons of them just went into baggies, dirty with a paper towel, into a fridge downstairs. Now, knowing me, I will forget about them and they will go bad. So, or I'll do all the prep to get them in the freezer and then I'll forget about them. There are a couple things that I'm really good at using. One of those things I mentioned is the meat. And the other thing that I'm really good at using is the soup starters, where I cut up carrot, celery, and onion, and I put them in little containers. And I think I'm really good at using those because I can start just about anything with that. Typically not the meals I'm cooking for kids, but like if I'm doing a fried rice for Dave and I for breakfast or for brunch, I've got that. If I'm starting a little lentil soup for myself, I've got that. So I'm pretty good at using those. So I think if I can get those carrots into those containers of some sort of soup starter, even if it's just like carrot starter, I know that I have a bag of celery in the freezer in the kitchen. I know I could add to that a bag of carrots, and then I could have those and I could just grab handfuls out. So I'm just kind of thinking it through of like, how can I use this food? Got my sticky note idea. I'm going to work on that. I know that I have pesto from last year to last me a lifetime. So along with giving that to people when they come over, I'm going to incorporate one pesto meal a week. So it could be pesto pasta, it could be chicken and rice with pesto. Do you have other ideas? Pesto and soup? I don't know. The kids aren't going to eat this. So this has got to be like Dave and I. So if I do chicken and rice, I would probably just do like some sort of pesto sauce that we can put on our own. Or if I do a pesto pasta, maybe I'd make mac and cheese for the kids because I have really food sensitive kids. So that's okay. Let's just take this is where we're going for the other issue I have with the food preservation kind of hoarding that I'm doing. We have Chloe, she's in college. She loves real food. She loves food from the garden. She loves fresh food. She brings food with her to college. She would eat anything Dave and I would eat. When I say my kids are food sensitive and don't eat the foods that I grow or preserve, I am talking about the other kids. We have 5 kids total, and it's mostly the 3 kids who are here most of the time who I'm cooking for on a daily basis. They just don't eat it. I can't put vegetables in foods. They'll eat raw vegetables mostly, but I can't put any cooked veggies. This makes it really hard and has contributed to my food hoarding situation, because if I'm just making a super simple meal, sometimes I don't even bother to go down to the freezer to see what I've got in there. And things like corn, like I have so much corn, but what am I going to do with all that corn? And so it starts to get a little complicated for me, because if Chloe's at school and I'm only feeding Dave and I some of this food, I have to think about portion size, and I'm used to cooking for, whatever. It just gets complicated for me. The other thing is my jars. So I noticed the other day I was making something to eat, and I really wanted to open a jar of that like fennel parsley relish that I made, and I wouldn't let myself. I wouldn't let myself open a jar of food that I grew, harvested, and preserved. And I was like, whoa, we got to take a step back here and think about this. Like, what is going on? And this is coming at a time when I am going through and letting go. I talked about letting go in the last video. It's hard, it's emotional, it's a lot. And doing it is it's like opening space in your body and your mind and your heart and your soul and your spirit and like all of it. It's so important. So as I'm kind of going through these physical things, I'm noticing that I have this food that I am not using. And there is some part of me that it keeps thinking, what if I need it? What if the stores don't have food? What if I am in an emergency? But the truth is, growing a garden and growing your own food, the idea is that you're doing this every year. And while I think that, for jars at the very least, I could have easily 2 years if I want to like grow a massive tomatoes and do my tomato canning. I could easily do that for 2 years, take a year off, or just grow fresh eating tomatoes, fermented, salsa tomatoes. The idea is that you're supposed to eat this food and it's going to go bad if I don't eat it. But I have these like serious blocks going on. So in the downstairs in the apartment, we have a closet where I I keep all the overflow of like corn chips and noodles and canned tomatoes and mac and cheese, like just, you know, cans of stuff, boxes of stuff, mayo, ketchup, mustard, tuna, you know, you get the idea. And what I noticed is that the kids are very good about using those foods. Those are like they're the foods that they gravitate towards, like cereal. They have no problem going down and getting their cereal or their crackers or tuna or mayonnaise, and here I am like replenishing those foods all the time for them. But when it comes to my own foods and the foods I want to eat, I'm just leaving them. I'm not touching them. I have this like scarcity around them. Plan. We've got the sticky note plan. We've got the pesto once a week plan. And I think the third part of this plan is going to be that I am going to challenge myself every single day to use something that I have preserved and incorporate it into my meals. And a little bit bigger than what I've been doing now. So a little bit more than just reaching into a bag of frozen kale and throwing it into a soup, like really going down there and figuring out what I have, allowing myself to open the relishes and the chutneys, allowing myself to plan meals around the things that are in our jars, making sure that I'm using the herbs that I dried, that I spent so much time drying, making teas with them, adding them to foods, using them. There's a lot of hope starters that I follow, and they'll say something like, you know, using the last bag of peas, and I'm like, I get like this fearful feeling inside. It's like they're supposed to use their last bag of peas. That's the point, right? That's the point of it. So I've got all these fava beans that I froze, and I haven't let myself touch them. Before you know it, I'm going to be growing fava beans again, broad beans. I'm going to have them in my garden. And I just have this like I love knowing that they're tucked in the freezer. I love knowing the strawberries are tucked in the freezer. But the whole point of the strawberries in the freezer was to make holiday jam. And I still haven't done that, even though I have the cranberries and I have everything I need to make them. Still haven't done it. So I've got to start moving things along. We're also getting an entire pig for the freezer, which means I need to get through there. I need to render lard, render tallow, get those soup bones boiled down with all the scraps of veggies that I have taking up a huge part of my freezer downstairs. So I think that, you know, writing down, even though I'm not really good at going back to lists, but if I can write down the steps I need to take to start to move this food along, if I can get the basic idea of what I have onto sticky notes, because again, I think that's going to be the key for me, is that if I can see it, I remember it's there. So a sticky note, even though I can't see the food, I'm seeing the word of the food. And that should be, hopefully, fingers crossed, enough of a cue for me to then go ahead and plan. I'm not a meal planner, so if I said to you right now, I'll just look what I have in the freezer and then plan meals, I would be lying to you because I'm not going to do it. I've tried to do that a million times. It doesn't do it. The way I cook every day is based on how I feel. I know that if I wake up and I'm feeling like today, I'm feeling like I can do a whole roast chicken, I can make rice for the kids, I can make a pesto pasta for Dave and I. Like, I am feeling this, so I'm going to do it. And then I can make soup the next day from the bones and the leftover chicken. It's all going to work beautifully. The kids love chicken and rice. I'm feeling that. But I had no idea yesterday if that's what I was going to be feeling, so I just took the chicken out of the freezer today, and then it kind of spurred this like, okay, we've got to start using this food. The whole point of growing my own food and preserving it is to feed us. And even if it's just feeding a few of us, even if the other kids are eating other things and I have to go to the store to buy them or the farmer's market to buy them, at least I know that I am feeding some of us with the food that I have grown. And it's an incredible amount of energy and work and time and money. And I think sometimes I lose track of the absolute abundance that I have put up. All right, so before I start talking in circles, I am going to take you down. We're going to look at some stuff and just see if we can get a handle on this. Let's go downstairs to the freezer and see what we've got. This is actually the most organized you'll ever see anything of mine ever. But other than strawberries and fava beans and the green sauce or pestos, I actually have no idea what's in here. So I'm pretty sure I've got rhubarb, totally forgot about it. I've got banana, zucchini, spring onion, basil. This can convert either to a freezer or a fridge. So right now we have both on freezer. So down here, this is basically, I'm gonna say almost all 2021 food. Tons of winter squash. I need to use every single bit of it. Some corn from last year, some corn from this year. I think the kale is from this year. A few things were from this year, but I'm gonna say most of it. 2020 green ketchup. I need to like make some sort of meatloaf for that. I think there's eggplant in there. There's green beans. There's still these zucchini boats from last year. I see something back there. Turnip pea soup. Green onion. Pesto. I mean, pesto to last the rest of my life. Pesto, pesto, pesto. But it can't. It can't last the rest of my life because I've got to use it. All right, so 2021. That's what we're working on here. So these are cubes. I'm going to leave those. Those are cubes. Let's take this one because it's looking really freezer burned. And we'll take this one. So that's kale, that's basil. Let's get this jar out of here too. Goodness knows how long that's been in there. Oh boy. Ooh, courgette soup. That would be good for lunch. I'm pretty sure all from 2021, which means I need to use them. Dill from 2021. I didn't make pickles really because we didn't grow cucumbers, so I didn't really use the dill, but those can go tomorrow. When I'm making chicken soup, I will put those in. All right, so we're making plans. Making plans. Squash soup. Yeah, I just, this is a very hard thing for my brain. It is a very hard thing for my brain. No label. Some sort of maybe green bean and oil. I don't know. All this pesto is going to go in the basket and come up with us. It's freezing. That's why I bring the basket because I don't like making my hands. Here's a bunch of beets. Those are from 20. Oh, no. Those are from 20. I've got 2 bags of those. Yeah. Carrot, turnip, top walnut. Sounds good. Got here chive pesto. Ooh, that one sounds good too. But I think I have enough. I mean, that's a lot already. That's a lot. Let's bring these green beans or whatever they are. Let's bring these green beans up. We'll do those tonight too. And this is the freezer that I've got to get the whole pig in. So mostly there's a ton of room. You just can't see it. But over here, these are all filled up. So I've got 12 dozen eggs in each of these. I've got some chili for lunch that we can use if I even remembered it was here. Hot pepper relish. This is some like old pasta that I need somebody to eat. Pizza sauce, some broth. But these bones are taking up a lot of room. So I've got 4 things of bones, 3 things of the beef suet. And then these are all my starters, so you can see I have been going through the soup starters. Should I grab one out to add that to the pesto? No, I think I'm gonna leave those. See, this is what I do. Nope, leave them. Leave them, don't eat them. And then a bunch of like frozen veggies that I buy from wherever and just stock up on those. green beans. I've got a chicken in there from our farm that we go to. Chicken feet that I've never used. I need to use those to make broth. I've got pie shells, gluten-free, dairy-free. Oh, see, I didn't even know I had these. I didn't know I had these buns. Chloe and I didn't think we had gluten-free buns, so there's gluten-free buns. I just found 2 more peas and then pork broth back there, which I didn't know I had either. So, yeah, I think the sticky notes are going to be very, very, very helpful. All right, I'm freezing. Teas, herbs, dried nuts, or nuts, dried fruits, beans. Pretty good about it. I've got my ranch dressing seasoning. I did a video on that. Tons of dried herbs from the garden. I've got my infused oils going in there. So I'm pretty good about using from this. But for instance, I've got an entire thing of yarrow. So I need to sit down and think about like, all right, what am I going to do with those yarrow flowers? What is my plan? Did I show you guys the new fish? I can't remember if I showed you the new fish. That little baby. One of the kids brought it home from school. This is baby shark who we've had for 14 years. He is enormous, and now we have a little baby one in there. This is some of the dried herbs, and then more cans up top, more jars up top. So a lot of things that I need to think about using. So we've been doing food preservation since before we had this homestead life that we've been building. We would do things like, I remember one year we grew arugula in New Hampshire, and there was so much arugula. Chloe and I loved it, made a ton of arugula pesto, and then just had some frozen arugula. I think we ate it for 2 years. What else? Cucumbers. So the year before the big garden, we had a bumper crop of cucumbers, the likes that I have never seen, hundreds of pounds. My entire pantry, when I first started preserving, was pickles, relishes, and jam. That's it. And we still, 4 years later, have the bread and butter pickles, the dill pickles, and the relish. Dill pickles do not hold up past a couple of years. Bread and butter still going strong, though I am going to try to make a point of putting them on every sandwich and every bit of tuna or potato salad that Dave and I eat, because we got to get through this. Now, the saving grace has been that we have not been able to grow cucumbers because of the cucumber beetles and the squash bugs for the last couple years. So that really, really was amazing. The relish holds up incredible. 4 years later, relish still beyond amazing. So that is a good thing. I have no idea what I was saying. I don't know where I was headed with that pickle story. Pickles, jam, I don't know. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be focusing on letting go of these foods and trying to think of it as making space for what is to come. Meal ideas would be deeply appreciated. You know, think, I got chutneys, I got relishes, I've got a ton of frozen veggies, I've got a lot of corn, you guys. I've got a lot of corn. Help me think beyond corn chowder and corn pudding, please. I need ideas. And pesto. If you have other clever ideas for pesto, please lay them on me, because I need them. Couple quick reminders before I go. If you like this video, a thumbs up really helps. If you're new here, subscribing to this community would mean so much to me. There are 2 Instagrams, Sweet Fern Homestead and Pocket and Fern. I'll list those below. I'll link them up. And then there is a Patreon account, $5 a month. Support the making of these videos. And each month in return, I do a little mini podcast voice recording where I can talk a little bit more personally about things going on in my life than I can when I put it on the great big web. Love to have you join us over there on Patreon. As always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you.